So last year was a massive steaming pile of doggy dump for many reasons, just one of which being that Google didn't actually bother to release its affordable Pixel, the Pixel 5a, here in the UK. But in 2022, Google is making amends. The Pixel 6a is hitting Blighty for 399 quid, boasting those same Tensor smarts as the Pixel 6 flagship, but in a more compact 6.1-inch form factor. But of course, to reach that lower price point, some sacrifices have been made. But anyway, enough banging on. Let's whip the Pixel 6a out the box, test out the gaming chops, the camera, all that good stuff. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do plug subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, what do you actually get in this delightfully dinky box? I'm guessing not too much. And indeed, it's very tidily packed, that's for sure. You get one Pixel 6a, Type-C to Type-C USB cable. As usual, a USB Type-C to Type-A adapter. You got a quick start guide, which basically tells you how to power the phone on if you've never actually used a smartphone before. And a very cute wee pokey pin to actually get your SIM in there. And that is it, no adapter, so you will have to actually provide your own as usual. But hey ho, better for the environment, hey chaps? So here, in all of its splendor, is the Google Pixel 6a. And I gotta say, I really missed these A-series smartphones because they're so pleasingly dinky. Here's the Pixel 6a side by side with the original Pixel 6, and it may not look like a massive difference, 6.1 inches versus 6.4 inches, but believe me, when you've got it in your mitts, it does make a difference to the comfort, and also just one-handed use is so much easier. And although I still struggle to reach up to the top end of this phone because I've got tiny stubby wee fingers, at least you've got that one-handed mode if you really need it. So yeah, 6.1 inches, still more than enough to satisfy and feels great in the hand for now. Now Google is offering the Pixel 6a in a choice of 3 different colors. You've got charcoal, chalk, or sage. So basically black, white, or a kind of a pukey green that I'm not entirely sold on. My favorite of the trio is certainly this chalk model here. I just love the clean, crisp finish of it. And as usual, just like with the original Pixel 6 series, you've got a two-tone finish. It's got this gray strip up top. Kind of reminds me of the new Kia Niro EV, just random car reference there for you. Once again, you've got a 3D thermoformed composite back end. Ooh, very posh. So I'm expecting the Pixel 6a to be pretty rugged and hardy as well, just like the original Pixel 6. Just a simple bit of Google branding right there in the middle, apart from that nice, clean design. And at least the camera bump isn't quite as sticky outy as with the previous Pixel, so hopefully it should be easier to remove any cack that gets embedded in these sharp corners. Meanwhile, up front it is the older Gorilla Glass 3 and you don't get a pre-installed screen protector on there, but all the same I'm hoping the Pixel 6a's display will remain scratch-free for the foreseeable. I'll certainly be abusing the ruddy heck out of it for my in-depth review, so stay tuned to see more on that. And in better durability news, the Pixel 6a is also IP67 water and dust resistant, quite rare at this price point. There's just a handful of other phones, the likes of the iPhone SE 2022, spit, that also offer that sort of level of protection. So onto software, and unsurprisingly, the Pixel 6a is running Google's latest, freshest Android 12, and it will be one of the very first smartphones to get a bit of Android 13 action later in 2022. Plus, on top of that, you got the added bonus of at least 5 years of guaranteed security updates, because of course it's a Google branded blower. It certainly helps that Google doesn't spaff out dozens of new smartphones every single year, therefore it can keep the older ones bang up to date much more easily. So you've got all those great Android 12 features, including quite a few Pixel exclusives like that at a glance up top. And I was never really a fan of at a glance back in the day, but certainly in recent times it's become a lot more useful. This can display all kinds of pertinent information, including any upcoming events you've got, particularly handy if you're about to take a flight or anything, as you can get your boarding passes right there from at a glance. If you've got a Nest doorbell, then you'll love the latest edition as well. The fact that you can actually get a little notification pop up on at a glance when somebody rings your doorbell, give that a tap and you get a live feed direct from that camera so you can see who's lurking outside. And probably slightly less useful for the UK, but you can even get earthquake alerts, magnitude 4.5 and above. I don't even think that one that hit Wolverhampton and knocked a few chimney pots off reached that sort of level. And the Pixel 6a basically comes with all the great features found in the Pixel 6, like that fantastic call screening feature. You can get live transcriptions on the go. You can also get live subtitling on the go for pretty much any video that you watch here on the Pixel 6a, potentially handy if you're trying to watch a tech video from someone with a northern accent who speaks a little bit too fast for his own good. And of course those fantastic privacy tools, including the ability to knock off the camera and the mic for all apps just with a quick flick like so. And on the subject of privacy and security, the Google Pixel 6a once again packs in that Titan M2 core processor, which securely stores all of your confidential data, just helps to prevent any nasty types from hacking into your smartphone and nicking it all. And a fresh new Pixel exclusive feature is projected wait times as well. So if you dial a toll-free number here in the UK, in other words, anything beginning 0800, you'll be given a estimated wait time right now and projected wait times for the rest of the day if you decide you can't be bothered, you're going to do it later on. And if you do find that you are stuck on hold at any point, well, there's going to be a new Hold For Me feature on the Pixel 6a as well. Just give that a little tap and then you can get on with your day. And then when an actual human being picks up, the phone will vibrate and buzz and make all kinds of a fuss just to alert you to the fact. Unfortunately, these features do not seem to be active right now as I'm unboxing this Pixel 6a ahead of the official release, but hopefully they'll come in soon. I'll be able to include them in my in-depth review. And to actually unlock the Pixel 6a, you once again have a retro and in-display fingerprint sensor. It's just your basic optical effort, and of course anyone who has used the Pixel 6 or Pixel 6 Pro has probably grappled with the in-display fingerprint sensor on that thing. It wasn't the most responsive, and it did balk up pretty often, but thankfully, touch words, after a few days of use here on the Pixel 6a, this in-display fingerprint sensor seems to be an improvement. Even when my hands are a bit moist or a bit dry, it doesn't seem to struggle to actually figure out who I am. But of course, the big question is, will it continue to not suck? Well, stay tuned for my in-depth review for a full answer on that one. For your storage, you've got 128 gigs of space packed into the Pixel 6a, and only about 14 gigs of that is used by system files, so plenty of space for your media, your apps, whatever else you want to cram onto this thing. Unfortunately, that's not expandable via microSD memory cards as usual. And there's space in the Pixel 6a's SIM tray for just a single SIM, but you can also download an eSIM if you want to go that way. Now, that's particularly handy if you happen to be traveling, your SIM isn't supported in the country you're going to, you can just get a temporary SIM for a few days to last you. Now, not exactly much shock and surprise when it comes to the Pixel 6a's 6.1-inch OLED display. It's an absolute cracker as usual. Got a Full HD Plus resolution here, 2400 by 1080, and that, coupled with the fact that it's quite a dinky display compared with a lot of modern smartphones, means that those visuals are super sharp. You've got super wide viewing angles, nice sharp contrast as well. Those blacks are perfectly black. You've got full HDR support, of course, when you're streaming a bit of video. And on the default adaptive color mode, visuals are really poppy and bright and punchy as well. It's just pure eye candy. The fact that the selfie cam orifice isn't exactly super tiny, so it does slightly intrude on the action when you go full screen, is pretty much the only negative thing I can say about this panel. The auto brightness seems up to snuff, and on the maximum brightness level, this thing is powerful enough so I could clearly see what was going on even when I was out and about on a really bright sunny day. Oh, I do actually have one more complaint, and that is the fact that it is only a 60Hz display, which really pales in comparison to most rivals at this price point, which are at least 90Hz. Some of them are even 120Hz. That lovely silky smooth flicking about the place experience, and of course in supported apps, just everything looks really nice and fluid. You don't quite get that here on the Pixel 6a. The Pixel 6a also supports a stereo speaker setup, but is it any good? Let's find out.
On paper, the FreeBuds Pro 2 do sound very similar to the originals, but with upgrades where it counts, namely the updated dual driver design and improved ANC.
And considering the smaller stature of the 6a, that's really not bad at all. It's slightly imbalanced stereo output, as you might expect. This bottom speaker definitely pumps out a lot more audio than the top speaker, which is slightly more tinny, but on that top volume, definitely a respectable level. Certainly do the job if you are caught in a pinch, your Bluetooth buds have died or whatever, because of course you don't have a 3.5mm headphone jack on this thing, boo hiss. There's certainly no complaints on the Bluetooth 5.2 streaming situation either. It seems absolutely fine, no crackles or breakups at all. Does the job even when you're in quite a congested area like central London. That's a situation that's probably helped by Google's dual antenna setup. So yeah, definitely if you do a lot of streaming, then job done. Now, despite its more budget-friendly asking price, the Pixel 6a is still powered by the exact same Tensor chipset of Google's own creation that was powering the flagship smartphones. And in this reblow, that is backed by 6 gigs of DDR5 RAM. Benchmarking was blocked on this pre-release handset, unfortunately, but I can tell you the everyday experience is as smooth as you like. Certainly loading up apps super fast. You can have tons of them buzzing away in the background, and it doesn't seem to slow down proceedings at all. If, on the other hand, you're a hardcore gamer, well, that's where things kind of fall down on their arse a bit, because the Pixel 6a's Tensor chipset does crumble under pressure. You can play more intensive fare like Genshin Impact on this blow, but you'll have to keep the graphics set to sort of low to medium. If you try bumping them up any higher, well, the performance is going to really start to struggle, that's for sure. The frame rate is going to drop, and it's just not going to be a very nice experience. And also the Pixel 6a does heat up rather fast as well, which is a bit of a concern. And I'm not just talking about when you're gaming here as well. I have noticed that if you've got that screen on for around half an hour to an hour, even just messaging, you know, browsing the web, doing basic tasks like that, that arse end does get rather toasty again, just like its more expensive flagship brothers. Good news is, if you want to play the likes of PubG, Call of Duty Mobile, those play absolutely fine, even on the slightly higher detail settings, no worries at all. And you've once again got the gaming tools on board. It's another Pixel exclusive feature, just allows you to quickly block all your notifications. You can take a screenshot if you want, get a read on the current frame rate if you want to see just how bad it really gets in Genshin Impact. And then these handy little shortcuts pop up whenever you drag them out just from the side of the screen like so. Unfortunately, the gaming dashboard is deactivated by default, and to activate it is an absolute friggin' ball ache. You've got to go into like the notifications, then the system scheduling section. It's really hidden away, and I don't know why you do it, Google. It's bloody weird. And no worries when it comes to jumping online either. You've got up to Wi-Fi 6E support and full 5G support as well. I had no issues streaming video out and about or here on my home Wi-Fi as well. Beautifully smooth. This blower, despite the fact that it's pretty dinky, finds room in there for a 4,410 mAh capacity battery, which is pretty impressive stuff. And a lot of compact smartphones like the previous Zenfone and the iPhone SE 2022 spit do suffer from rather piss poor battery life, but thankfully that ain't the case here on the Pixel 6a. I've been using it as my full-time smartphone for about 4 days now, and every single day it's lasted me until I've been tucked up with Teddy. And yes, every single one of those days it has been down to pretty much the dregs. We're talking around sort of 10 to 15%, but that is with around 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. You know, lots of video streaming, lots of camera play, all that good stuff. Of course, despite Google's insistence that this Pixel blower supports fast charge, it's not particularly fast. It does take a good hour and a half usually to charge up to full again, and there's no wireless charging support either, unlike those more expensive Pixels. So let's finish up this Pixel 6a unboxing video with a squint at that camera tech, and slapped here on the back end you'll find a 12.2 megapixel primary sensor with optical image stabilization. And if those specs happen to sound at all familiar, that's because it's the exact same primary camera sensor found on last year's Pixel 5a. But don't just chuck down your cheese and onion pasty in disgust and storm off to another video, because those are still some pretty solid optics, and of course they're backed here by the Tensor chipset's ISP. So fingers crossed that'll make for superior photo and video quality. As you can see there, the actual camera UI hasn't changed up at all. You can swap between the primary sensor and the secondary 12 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter with a quick tap like so. And of course you've got various camera modes to play around with, including the obligatory portrait mode. You've got the night sight for when it's really dim light, and a couple of other bonus bits, including of course the old Google lens. And if you fancy a proper eye full of the photo and video results spaffed out by the Pixel 6a, well, my full camera review should be going live around the same sort of time as this unboxing, so go check that out. But here's a few little teaser shots just to get you in the mood. On the video front, you can once again swap between the primary and the ultra wide angle lenses like so, and you've got your slow motion and time-lapse modes right there on the main screen as well. You do shoot in 4K resolution at 30 FPS by default. You can also boost that up to 60 FPS for a more naturalistic feel. And then if we head back to camera and swap around to that front-facing shooter, it's an 8 megapixel snapper, so I'd expect fairly sort of standard results from this. The Pixel 6s were never great when it came to the selfie shot, so fine as long as the lighting was good, but in dim light, not so hot. And if you want to shoot some video with that selfie snapper, well, you can shoot full HD resolution. There's no 4K option here, sadly, but the audio pickup seems pretty strong and those visuals ain't too bad at all. And that right there, kitty wings, all wrapped up with a pretty pink bow, is my Google Pixel 6a unboxing and tour. Now, as I say, my in-depth camera review of the 6a should be going live about the same sort of time you're watching this right now, so go check that out for an in-depth look at the optics, the photo and the video quality and all that shenanigans. Also hoping to do a full side-by-side with the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro, if that'll float your boat. I'm going to continue to use the Pixel 6a as my full-time smartphone as well, so stay tuned for an in-depth review as well. But what do you guys reckon? This is what I'm very intrigued to hear. Are you tempted by the Pixel 6a? Certainly at that £400 price point, it has a lot to offer. I'm loving that more compact form factor and the full IP rating, water and dust resistance as well. A couple of features which are hard to find at this sort of price point. Of course, you've got that slick camera tech, you've got gorgeous OLED display, strong media chops, and that guaranteed software support too. On the flip side, not so hot when it comes to gaming, certainly compared with some rivals like the Poco F4 GT for instance, and you've got the 60Hz display, a few little areas where it doesn't quite match up to its rivals. So anyway, that's more than enough of me banging on. I'll just shut the hell up now. Please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, have yourselves a bloody lovely rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you!